parties. Please join me in welcoming a long-standing NACo champion, Senator Chris Coons. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Everybody having a good and productive conference? My gosh, we need you here in Washington. We need you to bring that can-do, positive, bottom line, get things done spirit, because you might have picked up we're having a little trouble with that these days. It is a blessing and a joy to have two dear friends with me here. If you don't all know former presidents Glenn Whitby, Judge, and Commissioner Colleen Landcamer, please give them a round of applause. They were outstanding NACo presidents. And they have just finished doing what NACo does best, buttonholing me backstage and asking me, why am I not a co-sponsor of that bill that Jerry Connolly's talking about? Because when they were presidents, I helped co-lead the Restoring the Partnership initiative. So I turned to my staff and said, love you guys, put me on the bill. Thank you. To the Executive Director, Matt Chase, to NACo President Marianne Borgeson, to the Executive Committee, to all of you, thank you for reminding me, for grounding me in what matters in elected service. I spent 10 years in county government in Delaware, and my wife spent 8 years in county government before me. It was the most meaningful and significant public service of our lives. We remain friends with and colleagues with the elected officials and the folks from Delaware. We've got folks from all 3 counties here today. Do we have any Delawareans out here, or is everybody still back in the green room? Let's give them a round of applause back in the green room and a smile for Mike. I think that's Mike Pettit-Demange, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we have 3 counties, but a wide range of views and experiences and structures, and we provide the critical services that sustain and make better and stronger the communities of Delaware. Whether it's dealing with the opioid epidemic, our aging infrastructure, an election system that's under attack, or the coronavirus pandemic that is just rolling up on our shores, as is the case with so many other critical things. Counties are the first line of defense for our people. Counties are the level of government that provides the service. Counties are the governments that deserve sustained engagement and support from the federal government. So if you've got an opportunity, put me in. Let me be helpful. Let me be your advocate, and know that your brothers and sisters from the state of Delaware are on me all the time. Let me quickly talk through just a couple issues that I'm excited about. First is water systems. When I was county executive, we had significant challenges in a decades-old stormwater pond and stormwater and sewer system. It was something I knew nothing about before I got into county government, and it absorbed a huge amount of my time. We need in the federal government to do a better job, not just in financing upgrade, restoration, and repair of water, stormwater, and sewer systems, but in making sure that we help facilitate the adoption of the latest technologies. There have been big advances in water technology, in water purification, in water movement, in water security. But if I'm running the engineering and the water and sewer department of a local county government, I'm not going to take the risk of putting in these new cutting-edge technologies until someone has really validated it. So there's a bill, the Water Resources Development Act, that I'm working closely on with my senior senator, Tom Carper, who's ranking on Environment and Public Works, and it will really help make sure that best practices water technologies are tested, are tried, are true, and are available to the most important level of government in our country. We've also got a challenge with PFAS contamination. Anybody ever heard of PFAS contamination? Well, then I'll be brief. I'm a co-sponsor of a bill led by Senator Shaheen of New Hampshire that will invest $10 billion in federal resources in cleanup and remediation. Anyone who's got an Air Force base in your county or in your community knows what I'm talking about. This is a significant challenge we need to resolve. I'm an appropriator. That means I'm one of 30 senators who gets to vote on $1.3 trillion. And I'm on the Transportation and Housing Appropriations Subcommittee. So trust me, Matt's on me all the time. but you had me at hello. I am an eager and enthusiastic fighter for full funding for CDBG and home programs, having actually personally been engaged in the decisions, the deliberations, and the awards for CDBG and home across a decade. I know what good they've done in my community. I know what a powerful tool they are in the hands of good governments, and I know that cutting them to zero is the wrong path, and we need to restore full funding for CDBG and home and continue to find ways to improve, sustain, and grow these two critical programs. I also fight tirelessly for our first responders. I don't know about your community, but in mine, if we didn't have volunteer fire companies, and if we didn't have sustained support for equipment, training, facilities for our combination companies that have some paid and mostly volunteer, we wouldn't be able to get fire apparatus out on the street on time. We wouldn't be able to do a competent job of responding to motor vehicle accidents. They are a critical part of the small town I grew up in, of the community that I represent, and of our country. So know that that's also a big priority for me in the appropriations bill. And last but not least, of course, transportation and infrastructure programs. We are billions and billions behind, as you know better than anyone else, in fixing not just the interstate highways, but the bridges, the roads, the tunnels, the culverts, the things that make it possible for folks to move around our country. It long was one of our critical advantages globally that made our country stronger, safer, and better connected. We've been living off the legacy of the investments that were made decades ago. We need to be real about how to pay for these at the federal level and invest in infrastructure upgrades. So let me also just mention, thank you. Two other things, if I could. I've seen the way the opioid crisis is tearing through my little state. We're just 900,000 people, but we had 400 overdose deaths last year, and we're on track for that to increase by more than 10% this year. And I have sat with, prayed with, cried with parents, siblings, children of all backgrounds, all types of families, all communities in my state. It does not discriminate, and we've got to do more. At the federal level, we've passed bills that provide for more treatment, that provide for better training for physicians and health professionals, and I am working with Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado on two bills that will strengthen the DEA's ability to know when massive amounts of opioids are being illicitly diverted. You know by text when a pizza you ordered from Pizza Hut or a package you ordered from Amazon is going to hit your doorstep. You know that literally in real time. How much sense does it make that the DEA finds out 3 months later where and when shipments of opioids go? You've probably all seen some of the press stories that relate how a small pharmacy in a town of 5,000 in West Virginia received 1 million doses. It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out that those 1 million doses aren't going to be consumed by 5,000 people in that particular holler or that area of West Virginia. We should modernize federal law enforcement resources and information sharing. If the Pizza Hut and Amazon have this technology, why doesn't the DEA? I'll never forget going to the NACo conference in 2001, and I'm walking around, lunchtime with my tray, trying to meet some people, new folks, and there's this whole table that's like half empty. It's about half the folks there, and and I walk up, I say hi. They go, hi. I go, where are you all from? They go, Volusia County, Florida. I say, and who are you? They're like, Board of Elections. Like, oh, yeah, thanks. What an awful lot of people forget about you, about us, is that we do in county government, you do the hard jobs that folks don't want to think about. People want to flush and they don't want to think about it. People want to turn on the tap and they don't want to think about it. People want to call 911 and have people come and they don't want to think about it. And they want to know that when they go into the ballot box and they punch out the chat or they touch the touch screen, they want to know that our elections are free and fair. It's in my appropriations subcommittee. I fought tirelessly this year. There is another round of $425 million in federal funding coming to states and counties all over this country. It is not enough, but it is a critical down payment. The head of the FBI, the director of national intelligence, former senator from Indiana, both testified, and these are Trump administration officials. This is not a partisan point. They both testified that Russia hacked our elections in 2016. They are on the march again in 2020. They've seen how cheap it is, how effective it is at sowing division. And this time we're probably going to have the Chinese, the Iranians, or the North Koreans in this mess as well. We need to invest in improving security for our elections so that our country cannot have to think about it, cast the vote they want to cast, and move on from there. And by the way, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. I think we should elect as our next president someone who served in county government. Someone who had a really, really great weekend in South Carolina. Let me close on this. One of the other things, I'm just trying to keep it light. I got to introduce him at the NACo conference when I was a county elected official, and it was a real joy for me. And he gave a complete speech in which he talked about every aspect of county government. And the good news was, I think anyone who was here came away with a recognition that he gets what it means to serve America at the county level. The FCC and broadband also comes under the Appropriations Subcommittee, where I'm the ranking Democrat, and I'm working well with Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, who's been a great partner in this. The FCC needs to get real about mapping, and once again, NACo's come forward with a practical solution, the Test It app, which Matt was just showing me and talking to me about, that you've been able to distribute and demonstrate real-time 100,000 tests, because we talk about it, we drag the chairman of the FCC in front of us, we say it's time to move forward on this, but having data, having real people in counties across America submit data makes it so much easier for us to make the argument about investing in rural broadband. Bringing our country together, whether it's roads and bridges, whether it's the internet, whether it's access to broadband. Bringing our country together, investing in public safety and public security, making sure that our water is clean and our elections are secure and safe. Bringing America together by giving them reasons to trust and believe that their government at the local level actually listens to them and responds to their needs is what you do. You are a huge blessing to our nation. Thank you for the opportunity to take the lessons I learned in a decade of county service and try to fight hard, not just for us, but for all the constituents we represent across the country. Have a terrific conference. Thank you very much.